I'm from West Africa. I was born in a family that isn't fortunate. My parents will earn less than $100 at the end of the month, and most of those money went on our school fees. And I'll go to school, get to school every single day of the week, not having lunch. And my sister and I will walk up to 14, 15 miles to get to school every day. I mean, growing up as a child, I never had access to things I need that would make me better. I never had access to opportunities that I would need to, explore as a person. And while recognizing this problem, I started to recognize ways that I think this is the best way that we can help to solve this problem. All of this was really, really terrible for me. And my story is around I just don't want people to feel how I felt. I just don't want other kids to go through what I went through.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Meta Transitions. Today, we have a special guest with us. His name is Reuben, and Reuben hails all the way from Liberia. Reuben is here to talk a little bit about his story and how he started this initiative called Rehab Africa. We're so excited to have Reuben with us. And Ruben, we've had so many people come on our show, but by far, I think you are the one that's the farthest away from us. So we're excited to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate coming on your platform. It's I think, a privilege and to come from this far to be on your platform. And I hope this can encourage more diversity, especially from Africa, to come on the platform. So thank you so much.
Definitely. We welcome everybody, and I think for sure, if you have some suggestions of people who you think would want to tell their story on a platform like this, then please let me know and I'll reach out to them.
Definitely.
All right, so let's jump right in. Ruben, tell us what your story is.
So again, I'm from West Africa, the oldest republic in Africa as a whole, and that is Liberia. Um, my story is I started my story generally started to know myself when I was at the age of 15. Um,
Mhm.
I was born in a family that isn't fortunate. My parents will earn less than $100 at the end of the month, and most of those money went on our school fees. And I'll go to school, get to school every single day of the week, not having lunch. And my sister and I will walk up to 14, 15 miles to get to school every day. After going through this problem and while going through this problem, I started to generally see problems within my community. I mean, growing up as a child, I never had access to things I need that would make me better. I never had access to opportunities that I would need to, explore as a person. But while going through this situation, I use it as a means to make my life better. And that is, I started to recognize problem within my community. And while recognizing this problem, I started to recognize ways that I think this is the best way that we can help to solve this problem. I would talk to my parents, my mother, my father, who going to school doing the. We had a 14-year civil war in Liberia, which killed up to 200,000 people, more than 200,000 people, and they would tell me how terrible it was and how they drop out of school and all of that. So I was like, I think I need to take an action to help address this issue. People who went through this 14-year civil war, how can we get them back into society and all of that? So I generally sat and I reflected and I said, I think starting an initiative of a nonprofit organization that would generally solve this problem altogether, but one at a time, would be the best way to help solve these problems. And I mean, I went through a lot, not just me, but people in my community, my brothers, my sisters, we all went through a lot. So my story generally is about, like being born in a family that is unfortunate. So my goal is that I know what it felt and I know what it's like. So I was like, I don't think other people in my community should go through this situation. I think I need to do something that will make their life better. I think I need to create opportunities. I mean, I started my story. I think that's the most important part. I started on absolutely nothing. I started to build this nonprofit on nothing at all. I never had a dollar to, like host an event. I held events and around the country that we held on absolutely no funding, bringing people together in classrooms and literally, all of these things came down to my background the way I grew up, not having access to things that will make me better. My parents, my mother, most importantly, who come from the market at 8 o'clock p.m. in the night to put food together for us. So all of this was really, really terrible for me. And my story is around I just don't want people to feel how I felt. I just don't want other kids to go through what I went through. I just don't want people to, like, do things that isn't right and so on. So that's how my story is like, yeah.
Okay, no, definitely love the honesty and the genuineness that you're coming forward with. This idea of, coming from nothing, right? And wanting to enrich your community in a way that, you're recognizing that the community needs to get to a place where it isn't, right? So there's poverty, there is, people not having enough to eat, people
Yeah.
having to walk, very far. And I don't understand your experience, but I do understand the experience of walking to school because I grew up in Jamaica, right? And I grew up in the country, rural area in Jamaica, and I know what it is like to walk 2-3 miles to school, right? So I completely hear you. We made it fun along the way, of course, but definitely recognizing that when there's poverty, there are definitely things that you can't access, right? And it sounds like you're wanting your community to be able to access a digital world,
Yeah.
where they can seize other opportunities beyond what they can see within their
Exactly.
own scope.
Yeah. I mean, generally, in Africa, not just let's say Africa, but from where I am and where I'm from, Liberia, you do not have the platform where they kind of have that option to choose from. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of young people, most of them believe that traveling is the best alternative to make their life better. And
Mhm.
that's one of the narrative that I want to change, that you can do anything. You can start with nothing and get something. And like you said, poverty is just one part of the story, and poverty is the most important part of it because it serves as a barrier for people not meeting their goals.
Right.
Poverty is just one part of the conversation, but teen prostitution, and that comes
Yes.
down to you know um poverty because most of these girls in the street sleep with guys for less than a $1 US. You know what I'm saying? And I had that experience, and that was the part that really pushed me to start this journey. When I
Mhm.
went out that night, I was like, I stood somewhere, and a lady giving herself out for less than $1,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, we need to do something to solve this problem. I cannot solve all of the problem in the world. We have climate change currently. We have different things going on in the world, but I just want to create a community where if I am able to help this person next to me, we can have a little more, we can have that next person helping another person, and then our work can be better. It doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter the color of your skin, it doesn't matter what you got. It's about, just creating access for people and just giving these things out, team prostitution. But the more we try to solve this problem, the more this problem are increasing. Right now, we're trying to create a more holistic approach towards this problem, because
Mhm.
if we cannot, it turn out to be a global security threat. Because we got to do this, and that's my entire transition story. I was pushed to take this action,
Mhm.
and I took this action, and this action is going just the way as I wanted it to go.
So, no, it's lovely to hear what you're saying there in the sense that you're wanting, like I'm hearing the heart that you have for wanting to make a difference, in your community, and you saw something that made you question sort of how a person sees their worth, right? I'm hearing sort of that idea of self-worth and a person being so poor that they would give themselves up in such a way that they would give away such a prized possession for such a small amount of money,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And you saw that and you were like, no, you have to do something about that. And you created this program that would help, I guess, women, men, to choose a different path. So tell us a little bit about the program and how is it helping these young people?
Yeah, so Rehab Africa is a non-profit organization. We kind of work around breaking youth out of discrimination, isolation, breaking them out of poverty and different things, and creating, like I said, creating an option for them. We are transforming youth in Africa through mental health, education, technology, and entrepreneurship. And generally, that's what we are about, creating options that young people can choose from around Liberia. We do not have access to things that people in the Western world have access to, and that's what we want to do, create the opportunities right here in Liberia and give access to those opportunities.
I see, I see. So digital entrepreneurship and the idea of, helping young people to recognize there are other options out there that they
Yeah,
can gain access to, um, that's beyond, I guess, their
yeah.
physical, you know, abilities. Now, since this is going to be played in Europe, in Asia, and in North America, I want to know how people can help you. You said it's a not-for-profit, service, right, or organization. So, do you take donations, and can people donate to you? And if they could, how would they do that?
Yeah, so we do take donations. We have our website rehabafrica.org .org, I would say. You people can donate. People usually donate to help improve our capacity and the work that we're doing out here. Um, we accept donation only through our website. And yeah, I think the way we right now, my personal goal is to make sure that we have we just have a little more equal word that people will not discriminate people through their color,
Yeah.
where they're from, how they look, and all of that. So I think another way to help me out and help us out is to, um, I mean, use your voice to create change and just call out against racism and also discrimination. I mean, racism is just one part of this discrimination conversation, but there are a lot of other discrimination that people go through. People face bullying and all of that. And we just need to do a little more. I mean, social media and all of that. Like I said, we are the developing world, part of the world, Liberia and other parts of Africa. We use things like Instagram, we use things like Facebook, but it typically feel like our part of those platforms are being left out, and the people who manage this platform on a bigger level focus more on the bigger countries, and these platforms are negatively impacting our part of the world, which is why I personally left Instagram, Facebook, because I feel like it's negatively impacting our society. So if we can use this platform, that would be another help that I would ask for. Let's call people who have this platform out to create a more safe and better internet for not just people but for children as well. Because I mean, it's destroying our part of the world and it's not being talked about. Misinformation, bullied, and I mean a lot of other things. So just fight discrimination and all of that, and yeah,
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing from you is this idea of discrimination that's not being talked about, like
yeah,
on social media, where you feel like you're not being portrayed in the right
yeah,
way, right?
yeah.
So individuals from your part of the world is not being portrayed in the right way, and it's not showing children in the right way, and in a sense, you're being discriminated against based on where you're from on the
Exactly.
internet. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, and you're wanting to make a difference by calling that out. I am that you were willing to share truth with us, right? As a way to raise awareness, so
Yeah,
individuals can recognize not everything that you see, maybe coming from Africa on Instagram or Facebook or something like that, is necessarily true, right? And I'm wondering, does your platform, does that speak to some of that truth, or speak to maybe some of that discrimination? How do you use your platform to raise awareness?
yeah, we do use our platform to raise awareness. Like, to be very honest, I'm not going to be biased out here, but issue about racism isn't a problem at all, right? We welcome anybody from, and that's one thing I love about my part of the world. We welcome anybody from any part of the world. But I'm using my platform in a sense that we are speaking against other form of discrimination, which has to do with people, which has generally, I would say, which has to do with, because that's the biggest part of the discrimination thing we are facing in Africa. If you got this and this person do not have this, then they are not better, right? Those are some of
Yes.
the things that we are speaking against. And currently, I'm working on a book which generally talk about which like changing the narrative around Africa. I mean, a lot of people
Yes.
have these, I mean, these false beliefs about Africa. I mean, friends from other parts of the world when it comes to visiting Liberia, yeah, like people told me when I travel to Liberia, it would be like this. When I travel to Africa, it would be like that. But that's not really true, right?
Yeah.
I mean, young people are in Africa are taking action. We're not just being given the kind of space that we need, and we do not have access to the resources that we need, like other young people in other parts of the world. We're not comparing ourselves to them, but we are doing whatever we can, and we are not being given the platform. Or we do. I mean, there are a whole lot of things surrounding Africa. So I'm working on this book to talk about these myths and these wrong beliefs about Africa, and how I remember another part of my transition was me being born in a family that isn't fortunate. Um, I just like when I was putting Rehab Africa together, I was like, I want to go into the business because I want to make a lot of money that will help my parents. I want to make a
Yeah.
lot of money, but I had to figure it down, right? And I remember when I started this journey and up to now, a lot of traveling opportunity that you can travel, go to other part of the world and go to school and all of that. But is it just about me? Is it just about, my family? What about people outside of my family? What are people who are not like me, who do not have those friends who are willing to share those scholarships opportunity with them, who are not like you. I mean, all of that. So that's another part of my transition, and that making that decision to stay and just manage Rehab Africa and just keep helping my community. I mean, it's something that I still reflect on, because I mean, some of the problems that we're trying to solve are not reducing in a way, but instead increasing. So we're trying to push another approach, a system change approach, and pursuing partnership with policymakers. I mean, our government in Africa, I don't know, but I mean, their decisions are negatively impacting our lives. I mean, every single part of Africa, and how we can change these things. So, I mean, I'm working on this book, and there are a lot of things surrounding Africa that we can take the next um 24 hours to talk about. But generally, to reduce this down, we just need an option that youth in Africa can choose from, and all of that. I mean, being of help to me, I mean, donating your money won't help until you take that action in your community personally. We appreciate you donating, but we appreciate you also taking an action against any sort of discrimination that people are facing in other parts of the world. And if you ever want to support what we're doing in Africa, we are open to working with not anybody, but we are open to working with people who really stand for the change that they want to see. We are open
Yes.
to, creating programs that will create, like I said, and I keep saying, create an option for young people to choose from. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's more than just money for you. It has a
Yeah.
lot to do with, the internal work. And it says it started with you. You have to do that internal work to get to a place where you were like, you know, I recognize that this is much more than just where I can go individually as a person, right? And the things that I can access and my family can access. It became more a community initiative. You're thinking outside of yourself now, and you're like, okay, I can start this, and this can be, a bigger story, right? And then not just your community, but now a global initiative in the sense that, yes, we will accept your monetary donations, but a much bigger thing is a change in the way that you think and the way that you approach others, and the idea of dispelling the myths and lies maybe that are being shared about Africa, and also the idea of dispelling discrimination and speaking out against things that are not true, like that are constructed, like racism and all these other isms, right? So really, really happy that you brought up this topic, and it's a really tough one.
I don't want to call out the date, but we are working around it. We are going to be talking with extraordinary young people that are doing extraordinary things in in Africa, in their home country, and who have similar story like me. Just to be very clear, there are people who actually have, I mean, story that are worse than mine. They have a very, very ugly story, but they are using those stories to create the change that they want. They are using those stories. We might not have the best skill in speaking English, but we are creating the change the best way that we can, and we don't care how people feel about us. We're just creating change. We're not creating change, or we're not doing what we're doing because of the internet, because we want to get somewhere, but because we want people around us not to feel how we felt. We want people to, take action for the community. And like you said, my book generally talk about racism. I haven't experienced it directly or from someone telling me about my color, and I literally, honestly, I haven't really felt it somehow. But the way people talk about Black people in certain environment makes me feel left out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People,
Definitely hear you.
it make me feel somehow like you attend a program and it's just around black people are left out, black people are this, black people are that. I haven't talked to a white friend about it before to know how it feel being white, but I think everyone are human. And I think we need to change the direction as to how we call out the thing about racism. We call out the issue. We need to have a conversation, like I told a friend before. If you want to refer to me, you cannot tell a friend that I have a black friend in Africa. You saying that you have a friend in Africa and removing the black doesn't in any way change the conversation. Just say you have a friend, right? But people do that just to create that stigma that I have a black friend, which is just not right. And these are things that I want to talk about in this book about how people who organize this bigger event, how they can be very careful on how, because we all do not. I honestly do not feel comfortable about people just referring to black people like we're not normal,
Mm,
or people referring to Africans like we always out here asking for help. We always out here doing this, and that's what most people believe that Africa we just want help. We just on the internet. There are people who do, but some of us
yeah.
are not, so much into it. We're doing what
Mm,
we are doing just to change this conversation, change this boy around, and just have something from a bigger scale, and just, I mean, have an equal word. I know that's almost impossible, but where we can have a very civilized conversation without people telling me the tone of my skin or referring to my community as the black community or the African community. Like we're not normal. And so I'm just calling out in this book, I'm just calling out people just to treat us very much a little more normal, especially people who organize these big events and the same black people too who are advocating for an equal word that you should be careful how you refer to me as as a black man. Yeah.
yes, yes. You're speaking truth. And here in North America, we'd be like, yes, yes, speak it, because we want that to be something that's being spoken loud and clear. And it's great hearing how you're wanting this message to come across in a sense that you're speaking from Africa, right, as an African male. And there is definitely that perspective of, if you're from Africa, then you have to be black. And I think what I'm hearing from you is by identifying you as a black person from Africa, it's sort of segregating you from the possibilities of
Yeah.
all other people that live in Africa, which is quite, ironic, I think, right? And I hear you, discriminatory, right? So why can't it just be somebody from Africa, this person, right? So this idea of inclusion is just speaking about individuals as they are, rather than having to put some label or definition onto it. I hear that. I hear that. Wonder. It's been lovely talking to you, Reuben, and this conversation has been really enlightening, even to me. I'm just sort of listening to you and your perspective and where you're coming from, and it's opened my eyes to sort of this idea of things are not always as they seem, right? And a lot of times here in North America, we do look at organizations coming out of Africa as, an organization that is like, please give money to us so that we can better our situation. But I loved hearing from you that it's so much more than that, and that your initiative or your organization is wanting to better society, is wanting to, yes, relieve some poverty, but at the same time wanting to also get a sense of respect and worth as well, from a global community. There's one last thing that I generally ask uh, individuals that come on the show, maybe to individuals in your community, someone listening who might be from an impoverished place, and maybe they might think that, what, there's nothing I can do, right? What are some tips you could say to that person that could help them to recognize that there are options possibly out there for them?
Yeah, I would say, as a person growing up, um, and to anyone, there were times in my life as a teenager that I lose hope, um, that I felt like I had nothing. But besides feeling like I never had nothing, that nothing was in the sense that my parents didn't have a lot of cash. We didn't have a lot of things, and out of that. But there was something more to it. I realized that when I had this idea about Rehab Africa and the way it have been. So, I mean, nobody should feel like the first thing that you should do as a person. I mean, there are a lot of motivational speakers on the internet, which I'm not going to be like one.
Yes.
Um, you turn on YouTube, you have a whole bunch of money. But the first thing that you should do is to reflect on yourself as a person and recognize what exactly you stand for. Recognize an injustice in your community. It can be about you, it can be about a friend who told you their story, and just reflect on it and take action. The action that you want to take, it doesn't have to be starting an organization, it doesn't have to be starting this and blog and all of that, but it can be about helping someone who's going through that particular situation. That's what it's about. That action that you want to take, and you should look forward. If it is any talent that you have, you should use that talent to create change. Everybody on the internet, I know that everybody on the internet right now is using the word change maker up and down, but there's something more to that. We should all stand for our community, help to transform our community, and you should never feel left out. There are hundreds of people who feel left out there, but if you decide to take an action and then you start to take that particular action that you start to take, you're definitely going to realize that there weren't a need that you feel left out. There's something more to you once you recognize your purpose, once you know your purpose. And that would be my message to people. Start where you are. Nobody should tell you, which YouTubers usually do. They tell you you can start a business without money. You can do this without money. Money is really, really important, but money comes last. You should have a purpose. You should stand for a purpose. If you stand for something, I would say, if you stand for nothing, you will fall for anything. You will be convinced about what people come to you with. I mean, I was, I was nobody in my society, and right now, I am where I am because I realized that I have a purpose and there was something more to me. You should stand for something and never just start to take action. Recognize an injustice in your community, take an action towards it. Keep reflecting as a person about your past and what you think you need to make better. And my last thing would be, let us all first discrimination in whatever way we can. But we should be very careful about how we advocate for people who are facing this discrimination because the words that we use sometimes even create discrimination in addition to what we are already fighting. So that would be my message to people.
All right. Thank you for that. So, reflecting within yourself to find your purpose. And once
Yeah,
you found your purpose or a cause, take action,
yeah,
right? And the action doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't need to take money. It just needs to be something that you're speaking out
yeah,
against or that you're standing up for, that you're helping somebody, right? And then the final one is this idea of, take a stand against discrimination
yeah,
and racism
yeah.
against others, and be careful how you're spreading that message. So you don't want to continue to hurt others.
exactly. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, it was great having you, Reuben. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And we look forward to having you again in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I think you're doing a really amazing job. You should continue it. I mean, I want to, like get more Africans on with you and see how best they can tell their story and talk about cultures in other parts of Africa. I mean, Ghana, Kenya, and all of that, just to share the stories and how they feel about certain things that's going on. So yeah,
Definitely, I'd love to do that. I think you're sparking an idea there for sure. So I'll make my contacts and see how many people I can come on with. You never know. May have like
yeah,
a season of African stories.
yeah, that would really be wonderful. Thank you so much.
No problem. So you gave your website. Do you want to give the Instagram account as well?
Yeah, so I'm off the internet, which generally has to do with Instagram and Facebook, but Rehab Africa on Instagram is the best way. Once you send a message, definitely that message is gonna get to me. And you can contact us personally for me. I don't know if that's good to do, but my personal email is Reuben at rehabafrica.org. And the organization email is you can just shoot us an email if you are interested in working with us, and we're gonna look through it, and that is something of interest. We're gonna get back to you. That is hello at rehabafrica.org. Those are the best
Wonderful.
way to bring that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, everyone, you heard from Ruben today from Rehab Africa. Really enlightened us with such a wonderful story of what things are like in Liberia and the struggle that individuals there face. Also, lots of different types of discrimination. And, you know, he's worked so hard to bring his community together, to bring young people together, and also, you know, speaking out against racism and discrimination as well. So please go check out the link below with Ruben's contact information that we will be definitely putting it in the description. So go check out rehabafrica.org and go email Ruben if you want to collaborate with him. Okay, well, it was wonderful having you, Ruben. Until next time, take care.